My biological mother thought my 6-year-old self was a drag on her chances of marrying into a wealthy estate. So she dumped me under a highway overpass to get a bite of food. I grabbed the leg of a passing street punk and wouldn't let go. Hey big brother, your boots are dirty. Let me wipe them for you. Hey big brother, are you thirsty? I can go steal some water for you. A bunch of street punks looked down at me. Damn, this kid knows how to hustle. Fine, let's keep her. She's our little sister. Now from that day on, I had 12 gangster brothers. They never taught me any grand life philosophies. They only taught me one thing. If someone bullies you, beat them to a pulp. Because of this, in 12 years, my 12 brothers had never actually been in the same room together. Either one was doing time for breaking someone's leg, or another was locked up for cracking someone's ribs. But against all odds, I studied hard, got into college, and became the only university student from our rundown neighborhood. Yet on the very first day of classes, my roommate lost her luxury necklace and pointed the finger straight at me. Our academic advisor, the dorm supervisor, and the roommate's rich parents marched right to my place demanding to search it. I blocked the doorway. Can we please just resolve this? At the school office, my roommate's mother shoved me aside. Guilty conscience, huh? I want to see exactly what kind of trashy home breeds a thief. I stood at the door of my off-campus place looking at Mrs. Miller, our academic advisor, who had her usual just following protocol face. Behind her stood a middle-aged couple practically dripping in designer labels, and Chloe, my roommate, leaning against the hallway wall with a smug smirk. Miller said, adjusting her glasses, if you really have nothing to hide, you should let us and Chloe's parents take a look inside. It's the best way to clear your name. Chloe's mother sneered at me, scanning me from head to toe before her eyes settled on my faded, worn-out canvas sneakers. She let out a loud, dramatic sigh. May, you could barely afford the tuition deposit, right? She said, lowering her voice but making sure everyone in the hallway could hear. I heard you're only here on financial aid. With your background, who else would steal my $4,000 Tiffany necklace? Who's going to believe you? I ignored her and looked straight at Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller, can we please just handle this through the campus board? Why are you so scared? Chloe's father took a step forward. He had a massive gold pinky ring and pointed his finger right in my face. My daughter's necklace is the latest Tiffany collection. For grand. If it wasn't you, then who? We are searching your place today. I want to see what kind of trashy family raises a thief. Chloe laughed out loud beside him. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. Fine, I said. Let's go. As we walked out of the campus gates, Chloe kept pace right next to me, her high heels clicking loudly on the pavement. May, do you even know who bought me that necklace? She said, tossing her hair. My boyfriend, the one who drives the Mercedes. Honestly, you're not ugly. Why do you do stuff like this? Why not just find a guy to take care of you? What's the point of finishing college if you're just going to be broke forever? I stopped and turned to look at her. Was that Mercedes rented or borrowed? Because last week I saw him riding a rental scooter outside the gate. Her mother overheard and immediately rushed over. How dare you speak to my daughter like that? Chloe's boyfriend is in business. What does a charity case student like you know about anything? I didn't reply. I just kept walking. But my mind drifted back to my 12 brothers. When I was 6, my birth mother, Eleanor, abandoned me under a highway overpass because I was getting in the way of her marrying a rich guy. She left me with $20 and never looked back. I huddled under that overpass for 2 days, dizzy with hunger. Then I saw a crew of guys walking down the alley. The leader had bleached blonde hair, a cigarette dangling from his lips, and walked like he owned the streets. He was tiny, but I had survival instincts. I rushed out and wrapped my arms around his leg. Hey big brother, your boots are dirty. Let me wipe them for you. Hey big brother, are you thirsty? I can go steal some water for you. Kids got game, the blonde guy said, spitting out his cigarette. She's our little sister now. From that day on, I had 12 brothers. Oldest was Jax, the blonde leader. The second was Leo, the big guy with a scar across his face. The third was Blade, skinny as a rail. The fourth was Hammer, the one with fists like, all the way down to the 12th, one we called Gizmo. He picked the name himself, saying a weird street name keeps you safe. They never taught me morals. They only taught me one rule. If anyone messes with you, let your fists do the talking. So for 12 years, the 12 of them were never all together. Someone was always in county jail for breaking a collarbone or cracking a rib. But they loved me fiercely. When I was a kid, we were dirt poor. We lived in a rundown trailer park that leaked rain in the summer and let in freezing wind in the winter. But my plate always had the best cuts of meat scooped out of my brother's own bowls. When I was 7, a boy at school cut a chunk of my hair off and mocked me for having no parents. Didn't cry. I didn't say a word when I got home. But Jack somehow found out. The next day, that boy showed up to school with a completely shaved head, crying his eyes out all day. When the teacher asked who did it, the boy just whispered that someone had pinned him down in the bathroom with a razor. I was eating instant ramen and didn't even look up. What, I was at the internet cafe all night. Don't look at me. But I saw the electric clippers tucked in his back pocket. When I was 8, a local creep tried to touch my face in the alley again. I said nothing. But the next day, that creep was kneeling in front of our porch, his face swollen like a balloon, begging for my forgiveness. Blade was leaning against the wall smoking. He smiled when he saw me. Hey sis, this guy wanted to apologize, so we helped him find his manners. Blade had taken on that creep and 4 of his friends by himself. Blade spent 2 weeks in the hospital, but when he came home, he brought me a cheap hair clip. Got it from a street vendor for $2. Don't hate it, he grunted. I still have that clip. Meh. Why are you walking so fast? Guilty conscience. Chloe's voice snapped me back to reality. She jogged up to match my pace, a smug smile plastered on her face. Are you scared of us seeing how you live? I heard the area you live in is basically a slum. Are you renting some sketchy room? Or do you live with your weird relatives? I ignored her. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a text from Gizmo, my youngest brother. Hey sis, how was orientation? Get your butt home quick. The guys put together a huge surprise for you. A surprise? My palms started sweating. I knew exactly what their surprises looked like. The day I finished my high school exams, they said they had a surprise. I ran home excited, only to find a guy kneeling on our living room floor. The bully from the high school next door who used to corner me. For lunch money. My brothers had handled him before, but that day he was black and blue, sobbing, I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. Please tell your brothers to let me go. Jax was sitting on a lawn chair eating watermelon. He tossed the rind aside when he saw me. Sis, this guy wanted to apologize face to face. We just facilitated. You satisfied? If not, I can make him kneel a bit longer. What was I supposed to say? So seeing the word surprise now, made my heart race. Chloe leaned over to peep at my screen before I could lock it. Ooh, who's texting you? She sneered. Some street trash boyfriend figures. With your background, you'd only attract low lives. I shoved the phone into my pocket and remained silent. She leaned in closer, whispering, but loud enough for Mrs. Miller and her parents to hear. May, are you embarrassed of your home? Don't worry, being poor isn't a crime. She tossed her hair. But stealing is. That necklace is $4 grand. You can't even pay your tuition. How are you going to pay me back if you hand it over now? We can settle this privately. Otherwise, once we search your place and find it, I'm calling the cops. I stopped walking. I didn't take it. Chloe rolled her eyes. Sure you didn't. Let's see what you say when we find it. Her mother caught up and grabbed my arm tightly. Why are you stopping? Trying to run? I'm not running, I said. Trying to pull away. Not running. Her sharp acrylic nails digging painfully into my skin. You look like you're about to bolt. We should hold her down. Otherwise she'll run for sure. Chloe chimed in immediately. Yes, hold her. Mrs. Miller turned around frowning, but she didn't stop them. Chloe's father walked over. Mrs. Miller, I agree. If she runs, who pays for the $4,000 necklace? We need to secure her. Mrs. Miller hesitated, then nodded. May, just cooperate for now. It's for everyone's peace of mind. Chloe's mother pulled a nylon strap from her designer bag, trying to bind my wrists. I violently yanked my arm back. Back off. Chloe's mother gasped. Chloe froze. Mrs. Miller's frown deepened. May, show some respect to your elders. I glared at them. I didn't steal anything. You have no right to bind me. Chloe's father lunged forward to grab me. I dodged. Chloe sneered. May, you want to fight? I can get you arrested for assault. Staring her down, her father lunged again. I raised my hand to block, and somehow my fist connected squarely with his jaw. Honestly, I don't even know how I threw that punch. Maybe it was the muscle memory from the self-defense moves my brothers drilled into me. Or maybe I was just pushed to my limit. Chloe's father groaned, stumbling back against the brick wall. You struck my husband. Chloe's mother shrieked, throwing herself at me and grabbing my hair. Chloe joined in, clawing at me. Mrs. Miller, stop it. I yelled from the sidelines, but no one listened. I was pinned to the gravel ground. My scalp burned from being pulled, and I took a couple of hits to the face. Something slipped out of my pocket and clattered onto the concrete. It was a jade amulet, a pale green piece carved in the shape of a little rabbit. Blake had given it to me on my 13th birthday. Blake had just gotten out of county jail after a 3-month stretch for protecting his crew. He was visibly thinner, but he smiled when he saw me and pulled this amulet from his pocket. Happy birthday, sis. He just told me not to worry about it, that it was a good piece. Later, Jax told me Blade had taken it from some rich prick who tried to hustle their crew. The guy used the jade to buy his way out of a beating. Jax said it was worth a lot of money and told me to keep it safe. I had kept it close to my chest for years. I never took it off. They snatched the jade off the ground. What's this? She turned it over, her eyes lighting up. Mom, look, this is real jade. Her mother leaned in, and the two whispered frantically. Then Chloe looked up at me triumphant. May, you can't even afford college. Where did you get a piece of jade like this? This is worth thousands. You definitely stole this from somewhere. Give it back. I scrambled up from the ground, reaching for it. Chloe held it high, stepping back. You dare try to steal it back? Her mother shoved me away. This is clearly stolen property. We're giving this to the police. Give it back. I launched, grabbing for the amulet. In the chaotic struggle, there was a sharp, sickening crack. The jade flew out of Chloe's hand, smashed against the brick wall, and fell to the pavement. It shattered. It broke into several pieces. The little carved rabbit split right down the middle. I froze. We froze too. Then she shrugged. Whatever. It was stolen anyway. Let's go to your place. I want to see what else you've hidden. I knelt down, carefully picking up the broken shards of jade, cradling them in my palm. My eyes stung, but I didn't cry. My brothers told me our family doesn't cry. I tucked the shards into my pocket, stood up, and started walking. Chloe muttered behind me, telling her mom I was definitely a serial thief. I ignored them. After a 10-minute walk, we reached the trailer park at the edge of the city. The alleyways were narrow littered, and overhead wires hung like chaotic spider webs. We laughed out loud. May you actually live here? Is this even fit for humans? Her mother covered her nose. Ugh, what is that smell? Disgusting. Chloe's father, nursing his bruised jaw, sneered. No wonder she's a thief. Growing up in a dump like this, how else would she survive? Mrs. Miller pinched her nose but remained quiet. I walked up to our rusty metal gate. Chloe nudged me. What are you waiting for? Open it. Let's see your little rat hole. Her mother added, yes, open it. Get your parents out here. I want to see who raised a brat like you. I pulled out my keys, my hands trembling slightly, but because I could see shadows moving through the cracks of the door. There were voices. More than one person was home. I pushed the door open, and I stopped dead in my tracks. Sitting in the living room was a massive circle of men, 12 of them. Every single one was there. Jax, the oldest, still had his bleached hair, but today it was neatly combed. He wore a brand new t-shirt and actually looked presentable. Still had his facial scar, but he had squeezed into a buttoned-up white shirt, looking incredibly uncomfortable. Blade, skinny as ever, sat upright, smiling the moment he saw me. Hammer, the fourth, sat with his hands on his knees, posture perfectly straight. The fifth, the sixth, the seventh, all the way to Gizmo, who had actually washed his hair. Parents flicked it back with so much gel a fly would slip off it. On the table in front of them sat a massive cake. Written on it in clumsy frosting was "Congrats on college." Jax was the first to stand up, smiling as he walked toward me. May you're back. We were waiting for you. It's your birthday, so we all chipped in and got a. He stopped mid-sentence, saw the people behind me. He saw the red marks on my face. He saw my messy hair, my dirty clothes, and the mud on my sleeves. The smile vanished from Jack's face. Leo stood up. Blade stood up. Hammer stood up. One by one, all 12 of them. The room went silent. 12 pairs of eyes landed on me. Then very slowly, they shifted to the people standing behind me. Jax's smile disappeared first. Leo's jaw clenched so hard the muscles twitched. Blade's cigarette, which he had promised me he was totally quitting, hung forgotten between his fingers until it dropped onto the floor. Hammer simply stood. That was somehow the scariest part. No yelling. No swearing. Just 12 grown men standing up at the exact same time. Sis. Jax's voice was unusually quiet. Who did that to your face? I instinctively took a step inside. It's nothing. Blade was already in front of me. It is absolutely not nothing. He gently lifted my chin. His expression darkened when he saw the scratches around my neck. Ooh. Before I could answer, Chloe barged in. So this is your family? She looked around the tiny trailer and laughed. Oh my God. I thought it'd be bad. I didn't realize you lived with a biker gang. Her mother covered her nose dramatically. I knew it. No wonder she's a thief. Look at these people. They look like they came straight out of prison. Wrong thing to say. Absolutely the wrong thing. Leo slowly looked at Jax. Can I? Jax didn't answer. He was staring at the red fingerprints on my wrist where Chloe's mother had grabbed me. Mrs. Miller finally spoke. Please remain calm. We're only here to conduct a search. We have reason to believe May stole Chloe's Tiffany necklace. Every brother turned toward her. At exactly the same time, the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Gizmo blinked. Our sister stole something. Blade actually laughed. Then another brother laughed. Soon all 12 were laughing. It wasn't happy laughter. It was the kind that made Chloe unconsciously take 2 steps backward. Jax rubbed his forehead. I'm sorry. I think I heard that wrong. Our little sister. The same girl who cried for 3 hours because she accidentally forgot to pay for a 79-cent juice box when she was 9? Hammer nodded seriously. She marched back to the store the next day. With exact change. And an apology letter. Gizmo raised his hand. I wrote the apology letter. I spelled sincerely wrong. Blade nodded proudly. We framed it. Mrs. Miller frowned. Character references don't change the facts. The necklace disappeared. May refused to let us search earlier. I sighed. I asked to do it through the campus disciplinary office. They insisted on dragging everyone here. Jax looked at me again. Did anyone touch you? Silence. I hesitated. That was enough. It was always enough. Leo's eyes narrowed. They did. Chloe scoffed. She punched my father first. I saw it. Her father proudly displayed the bruise already blooming on his jaw. She assaulted me. Hammer looked at the bruise, then looked at Chloe's father, then looked back at the bruise. May did that. I quietly nodded. All 12 brothers looked at me, then at the father, then back at me. Blade frowned. Sis. You've been holding back. Leo looked almost offended. I taught you a better right hook than that. Gizmo whispered. I give it a 4 out of 10. Hammer agreed. Poor follow-through. I buried my face in my hands. This is not helping. Mrs. Miller looked horrified. Are you encouraging violence? Jax sighed. No. We're criticizing technique. Mrs. Miller nearly choked. Chloe's mother shrieked. I knew it. They're all criminals. We should call the police immediately. She whipped out her phone. Blade casually asked. Already called. Good. She froze. What? Blade pointed toward the street outside. Because we already did. Everyone turned. Outside the trailer, 2 police cruisers slowly rolled into the trailer park. Chloe grinned triumphantly. Perfect. They're here to arrest May. Blade scratched his cheek. I don't think so. The cruisers stopped. An older police captain climbed out. The moment he saw Jax, he sighed the exhausted sigh of a man who'd aged 10 years because of one family. Oh, for the love of. Not all 12 of you. You know how much paperwork that means? Jax raised both hands. We haven't done anything. Yet. The captain pinched the bridge of his nose. I believe you exactly 40%. Then he noticed me. The scratches. The bruises. His expression immediately changed. May. Who hurt you? Chloe's mother confidently stepped forward. Officer. Perfect timing. This girl stole my daughter's necklace. Before she finished, the captain looked at me again. Tell me. I quietly reached into my pocket. Instead of taking out a necklace, I opened my hand. Broken green jade glittered in my palm. The tiny rabbit was split clean in half. Every one of my brothers fell silent. My birthday gift. I whispered. They broke it. The captain recognized it instantly. His eyes widened. Where did you get that? Jax answered. It belongs to our sister. The captain stared at the broken rabbit for several long seconds. Then he slowly looked up at Chloe. You broke this? Chloe folded her arms. So what? It was obviously stolen. The captain let out a long breath. Then very calmly he took out his radio. I need detectives here. And the property crimes unit. Mrs. Miller blinked. For a broken trinket? The captain looked at her as though she'd lost her mind. A trinket? He pointed at the shattered jade. Lady, if that's the piece I think it is. You've just destroyed evidence connected to a 15-year-old unsolved robbery worth over $500,000. The trailer went completely silent. Even Jax slowly turned to Blade. Blade blinked. Wait. That rich guy told me it was only worth a few $100. Blade stared at the shattered jade in my hand. He lied. The police captain looked at him. You don't remember who gave it to you? Blade scratched his head. It was 15 years ago. He was wearing one of those expensive suits. He kept yelling something about an auction. I wasn't really listening. I had a concussion. The captain closed his eyes. I remember this case now. He pointed at the rabbit. That isn't just jade. That's the green rabbit pendant. It was one half of a matching heirloom stolen from the Whitmore collection. It disappeared 15 years ago. Chloe's mother suddenly looked much less confident. So it really was stolen. The captain shot her a look. I said it was connected to a case. I didn't say this young woman stole it. He looked toward Blade. From the timeline, she would have been 7 years old. Blade raised a hand. Actually, I was the one who got it. Everyone looked at him. Blade shrugged. I've done a lot of questionable things. I'm trying to narrow it down. The captain sighed. At least you're honest. Mrs. Miller finally found her voice. Officer. Regardless of the jade. We're actually here because Chloe's Tiffany necklace was stolen. Oh, the captain looked over. Where's the report? Silence. He frowned. You reported a felony theft, didn't you? Chloe hesitated. Well, we were about to. So, you haven't reported it? No. You haven't searched the dorm through campus security? No. You haven't checked surveillance? No. You came to a student's private residence. He looked around. With her academic advisor. And attempted to restrain her with zip ties? Everyone's faces froze. The captain blinked. I'm sorry. Repeat that part. I quietly held up my wrists. The nylon strap is still in Mrs. Carter's purse. Chloe's mother instinctively hugged her designer handbag tighter. The captain slowly walked over. Ma'am. Would you mind opening your purse? I most certainly would. Then I'll obtain a warrant. She reluctantly opened it. Inside, a neatly coiled nylon restraint. The captain picked it up between 2 fingers. He stared at it. Then at Mrs. Miller. You approved this? Mrs. Miller's face turned white. I only meant to prevent her from running. Prevent her from running? He looked genuinely baffled. She's a 19-year-old college student. Not a dangerous fugitive. Jax whispered to Leo. I kinda like this cop. Leo nodded. He's making sense. The captain pointed toward Chloe's parents. Congratulations. You've potentially committed unlawful restraint and assault. And judging from her injuries. He looked at me. Battery. Chloe immediately panicked. But she punched my dad. I did. I nodded. He grabbed me first. And your mother pulled my hair. Blade quietly pulled out his phone. Oh, I have something. Everyone turned. When Sis texted Gizmo she'd be home in 10 minutes. I checked the trailer camera. I forgot it records the street too. Gizmo gasped. The camera. Our broken security camera? Blade grinned. I fixed it last week. He connected his phone to the old television. Static flashed. Then, crystal clear footage appeared. The camera overlooked the front of the trailer park entrance. It had captured the last several minutes before we'd arrived. The screen showed Chloe's mother grabbing my arm. The nylon strap. Her yelling, "Hold her down." Chloe joining in. Her father lunging. Then, my single punch. Self-defense. Clear as day. Mrs. Miller slowly sat down on the couch. "I made a terrible mistake." The captain nodded. "Yes. You certainly did." Chloe's face had gone pale. But she still stole my necklace." The captain folded his arms. "Did she? Or are we finally going to investigate instead of guessing?" Just then, one of the younger officers stepped into the trailer. "Captain." He held up a small evidence bag. "We got a call from campus security. They checked the dorm room. They found the missing Tiffany necklace." Chloe smiled in relief. "I knew it." The officer continued. "Inside the lining of Miss Chloe Carter's own designer suitcase." The smile vanished. "What?" The officer read from his notes. "It appears the necklace had slipped through a torn seam. It wasn't stolen. It had been in her luggage the entire time." Silence. Complete silence. Then Gizmo quietly raised his hand. "So," he looked at Chloe, "you beat up our sister. Destroyed her birthday present. Called her a thief. Because you don't know how to pack?" Even the captain had to cough into his fist to hide a smile. Jack slowly rolled up the sleeves of his white button-up shirt. He smiled. It was the same smile he'd worn the day he'd first called me his little sister. "Officer," he asked politely, "before you arrest anyone, am I allowed one question?" The captain already looked tired. "What question?" Jax looked directly at Chloe and her parents. His smile somehow became even kinder. "I'd just like to know, which one of you is paying to replace my sister's birthday gift?" No one answered. Jax nodded slowly. "I figured." He turned to me. "May, how much did you love it?" I looked down at the broken rabbit in my hands. "Blade gave it to me." "That's enough." Blade looked away, rubbing the back of his neck. "It was only a birthday gift." "No." I shook my head. "It was the first birthday present anyone had ever given me." The trailer fell completely silent. Blade's ears turned red. "Don't say stuff like that. It's embarrassing." Leo immediately smacked the back of his head. "You idiot. You made her cry." "I'm not crying." I sniffed. "My allergies. There isn't any pollen inside." "Dust allergy." Jack sighed. "Still lying after all these years." The police captain cleared his throat. "As touching as this is." He looked at Chloe's family. "We're discussing compensation." Chloe's father finally found his voice. "It was an accident." "So," Jax replied, "if I accidentally drove through your Mercedes, would insurance tell you so?" "It's just a piece of jade." Chloe's mother snapped. Blade's lazy expression disappeared. He slowly stood. "No." He walked over and carefully took one shard from my hand. "This wasn't jade. This was 15 years of memories." He smiled faintly. "I skipped meals for 2 months after getting out. I wanted to buy her something. I couldn't afford anything. So when that businessman offered this to save himself, I figured it'd make my little sister smile." He looked at the broken rabbit. And it did. Even Chloe seemed uncomfortable. The captain spoke again. "The sentimental value alone is significant. And if the pendant truly is connected to the Whitmore case, its market value may be substantial." Mrs. Miller swallowed. "How substantial?" The captain looked at the evidence bag. "I won't know until experts examine it." A detective's voice came from outside. "Captain." Another officer entered. "The museum curator is here." Everyone blinked. "Museum?" An elderly man hurried inside carrying white gloves and a metal case. The moment he saw the shattered rabbit, his face drained of color. My heavens. He knelt immediately. So it survived. He carefully picked up one fragment. His hands trembled. "I've searched for this pendant for 13 years. Chloe whispered. "It's actually valuable?" The curator looked at her as though she'd confessed to kicking a puppy. "Valuable." This rabbit was carved during the late Qing period. It belonged to the Whitmore family's private Asian antiquities collection. There are only 2 matching pieces in existence. He examined the clean break. "Fortunately, it can be restored." Everyone exhaled. "But," the room tensed again, "the restoration alone will cost approximately $120,000. Chloe's mother almost fainted. 120? That's only the restoration. The curator continued calmly. The decrease in historical value would likely exceed several $100,000 more. Chloe's father's knees buckled. I don't have that kind of money." Jax folded his arms. "Funny, when my sister supposedly stole a $4,000 necklace, you acted like money wasn't an issue." Blade nodded. "You were talking real big 10 minutes ago." The captain looked at Chloe's family. "I suggest you contact an attorney. You're probably going to need one." Mrs. Miller looked ready to cry. "My career." The captain sighed. "We'll let the university decide that." Just then, a black luxury sedan slowly stopped outside the trailer. Then another. And another. Everyone turned. 6 black vehicles filled the narrow trailer park road. Men in tailored suits stepped out. One of them hurried inside. The instant he saw the broken rabbit, he gasped. Master Richard was right. He bowed respectfully toward the curator. Then his eyes landed on Blade. Sir. Blade looked behind himself. Me. Yes. The suited man smiled politely. My employer has spent 15 years searching for the gentleman who spared his life in an alley. Blade blinked. What? The man reached into his briefcase and removed an old photograph. It showed a much younger Blade. Skinny. Bruised. Standing in an alley with a terrified businessman. The businessman was clutching the same jade rabbit. You. The suited man smiled. 15 years ago, my employer was being robbed after purchasing the Whitmore heirloom at a private auction. He offered the pendant in exchange for being allowed to leave. He has regretted that decision ever since. Blade scratched his head. Oh, that guy. I remember now. He cried a lot. The suited man laughed awkwardly. Yes. He still does when he tells the story. My employer never forgot that you let him walk away. He instructed us that if the pendant was ever found, we were to repay that kindness. He opened another case. Inside were neatly organized documents, property deeds, investment certificates, bank drafts. The room fell silent again. My employer wishes to compensate Miss May for the destruction of the pendant. He slid the folder across the table, with a trust valued at $10 million. This time, even the 12 brothers forgot how to breathe. Gizmo stared at the folder, then at Blade, then back at the folder. Blade. Blade blinked. Yeah, you accidentally mugged the nicest billionaire in the country. Blade frowned. Huh. I really need to start remembering people better. Jack smiled. Actually, I don't want your money. Chloe's family looked relieved. Then he finished. I want justice. He looked at the police captain. We'll cooperate. But we're pressing every charge. The captain nodded. Assault. False imprisonment. False accusation. Destruction of property. And if the university confirms discrimination. He looked at Mrs. Miller. That's another problem. Mrs. Miller's legs gave out. 3 days later, campus surveillance came back. The footage showed Chloe taking off her Tiffany necklace while trying on outfits. She tossed it into her designer suitcase. It slipped through a torn lining. She never noticed. The university immediately cleared my name. A week later, the disciplinary board reached its decision. Chloe, expelled for filing a false accusation, assaulting another student, and attempting to fabricate evidence. Her parents, ordered to pay for my medical bills, emotional damages, and the restoration of the jade pendant. Mrs. Miller, suspended pending investigation before quietly resigning. As for the jade, it wasn't worth $10 million. It was worth much more. The museum authenticated it. After restoration, it was valued at nearly $3 million. The businessman Blade had robbed turned out to be a billionaire collector. He laughed when he heard the whole story. I offered him the pendant myself. He spared my life. I've owed him for 15 years. Instead of buying it back, he donated it to the museum. Under one condition. A plaque beneath the display read, donated in honor of May and her 12 brothers, who proved kindness can grow anywhere. Each brother received a reward for helping recover the heirloom. Enough money to completely change their lives. 6 months later, Leo opened an auto repair shop. Hammer started a moving company. Gizmo became an IT technician after discovering he was frighteningly good with computers. Blade refused every business offer. He opened a tiny convenience store instead. It's harder to get arrested selling snacks. Everyone agreed this was personal growth. Jax was the funniest. He walked into the trailer one evening wearing a suit. A lawyer says I can legally erase my record. Blade stared. You, a respectable citizen? Jax looked offended. I've been respectable for almost 6 weeks. As for me, I kept studying. I graduated at the top of my class. At graduation, the dean asked if my family would like reserved seats. I smiled. You'll need 12 extra. When my name was called, 12 enormous men stood up at once. They clapped louder than everyone else combined. Gizmo cried first. Then Hammer. Then somehow all 12 were pretending they had dust in their eyes. I laughed. My brothers. The dean whispered. All 12. I nodded proudly. Every single one. Months later, while leaving campus, I saw a familiar woman staring at me. Expensive clothes. Perfect makeup. A rich husband beside her. It was Eleanor, my biological mother. She had finally found me after seeing my story on the news. She burst into tears. May, I've searched everywhere for you. I had no choice back then. I'm your mother. Before I could answer, 12 shadows appeared behind me. Jax smiled pleasantly. Oh, the woman who abandoned our little sister. Leo cracked his knuckles. What a coincidence. Blade rolled up his sleeves. We've been looking for you too. Eleanor's wealthy husband looked at the 12 intimidating men surrounding her. Honey, you said your daughter died. Eleanor's face went white. The husband looked at the news articles on his phone. Then at me. Then at her. Without another word. He took off his wedding ring, handed it to her, got back into his luxury car, and drove away. Eleanor collapsed onto the sidewalk screaming after him. Jax looked at me. You want us to say anything? I smiled. No. We already won. Together, the 13 of us walked away. None of us looked back. 1 month later, everything collapsed at once. Chloe was expelled. Her parents were sued for assault, false imprisonment, and destroying my jade pendant. Mrs. Miller resigned before the university could fire her. The missing Tiffany necklace? It had been inside Chloe's own suitcase the entire time. The university publicly cleared my name and issued a formal apology. 3 months later, the jade rabbit was restored. Experts confirmed it was a priceless historical artifact. The billionaire Blade had unknowingly spared 15 years ago refused to take it back. Instead, he rewarded our family. The trailer was gone. All 12 of my brothers had legitimate businesses. For the first time in my life, none of them were on probation. Gizmo celebrated by framing his certificate that read, "0 arrests this year." Jax bought him balloons. They said congratulations on staying out of jail. Graduation day. When my name was called, 12 men in matching black suits stood up together. The auditorium shook from their applause. One parent whispered, "Is she related to the mafia?" The dean quietly replied, "I honestly don't know." 6 months later, a luxury SUV stopped beside me. A beautifully dressed woman rushed out crying. "May." It was Eleanor, my biological mother. "I've regretted abandoning you every day. I want another chance." Before I could answer, 12 car doors slammed shut behind her. Jax, Leo, Blade, Hammer, all 12. Jax smiled. "So, you're the woman who threw our sister under a bridge." Eleanor burst into tears. "I had no choice." Blade blinked. "You had $20. You couldn't buy food but somehow bought a new husband?" Her wealthy husband frowned. "What bridge?" Eleanor froze. "You told me your daughter died." Silence. He slowly turned toward me, then toward the 12 men, then back to Eleanor. "You abandoned a 6-year-old. To marry me?" She reached for him. "Honey, let me explain." He stepped away. "No. You've explained enough." He got back into his SUV. By the end of the week, she was divorced, removed from his will, and left with nothing except the suitcase she'd brought. Jax watched her leave. "Want us to follow her?" I smiled. "No. She's finally experiencing what it's like to be abandoned."